Congratulations and good luck.
Okay, so looking forward, there are some interesting fights this weekend. Let's start with the HBO card, the one that we're working. Let's talk about Amir Khan versus Paul McCloskey. Now, the fight, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening over in the UK because it was supposed to be a pay-per-view fight over there. Now it didn't, and it went over to prime time, so it looks like their purses are shrinking, but it's going to be on HBO. What do we think about that fight, Aris?
It's just a stay busy fight for Khan. That's all it is, really. Paul McCloskey was on the short list of opponents first. They tried to get, I believe it was Lamont Peterson in the fight. That fell through. They tried to get another opponent. That fell through, and so they fell on Paul McCloskey. He's an undefeated guy, European champion. Tough, but he's stuck at the European level. A guy like Khan should take him apart within 6 rounds. And that's all it is, because Khan is already scheduled to fight Timothy Bradley in July. So that's just a stay busy fight in his country, get a nice little win under him after the hellacious war he had with Maidana, then move on to junior welterweight supremacy against Bradley.
Oh, so you're picking Khan to beat Bradley too, huh?
I believe he'll beat Bradley. I think he's the more fluid guy, more skill set. Bradley's a really tough guy, but I think that Khan just has a little bit more to him. Maybe Bradley will surprise me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's an interesting fight. I mean, I've always personally liked Bradley. There's not one thing he does really well. He's just kind of a rugged fighter.
He's a very rugged guy, but I think Bradley still has a couple of things about him that I think Khan can exploit, but we'll see.
Definitely. And then also on HBO, we have Andre Berto versus Victor Ortiz. Now, to me, that seems to be a fight when I think about it. I have 2 thoughts. Either it's going to be a stinker, because both guys are going to try to stay away from one another and try to box, because they both have had chin issues, or it's going to be a really good fight because they're just going to go right at one another. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's an in-between fight. I think there's going to be a lot of cautious boxing, but at the same time, I think that at some points they're going to go after each other. Both guys are kind of stuck in the middle of their styles. They try to be boxers at some times, but at some point, but at the same time, they get overly aggressive. And we're going to see a combination of both in this fight. I think Berto is a little bit more skilled than Ortiz is, who's still caught stuck between the rock and the hard place after his loss to Maidana. Ortiz has been talking a very big game for this fight, saying, I'm sick and tired of everyone talking about me, all this stuff. This title has to be mine. I'm going to dominate Berto. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But Berto has the hand speed. I think I don't think he has more one-punch power than Ortiz, but he's more fluid in his combinations. And I think that's going to prove to be the difference. I think he's more physical than Ortiz.
Yeah,
it's a good fight. I mean, it's a very good fight. It's not the fight that everyone wants to see Berto win. I know they'd rather see him in with one of the elite guys in the division just to see if he's the truth or not, finally. But in terms of what's out there, besides Pacquiao and Mayweather and Mosley, it's a good fight for him.
Yeah, I mean, but who would Berto fight at this point? I mean, if Ortiz wasn't around,
I mean, Paul Williams has come back to division. You know, I can't fight Paul Williams. And there's other guys, too. Jan Zavic from Slovenia, who Paulie Malignaggi's been calling out. He's an underrated fighter. He's pretty tough. He's another one there. There's guys out there.
I don't believe that Paul Williams can boil himself down to that weight and be effective. I won't believe it until I see him on a scale weighing in at the welterweight limit. But who is Paul Williams going to fight next? Do they even have an opponent yet?
They don't.
So, I mean, and his next fight is definitely going to be at welterweight, or is it?
I'm not sure. It might be junior middleweight, welterweight. You know, the guy's all over the place. Who knows?
Right. So, be interesting.
Wherever the money's going to be.
Right. It'd be interesting to see him back. And any news on Alfredo Angulo, or is he still missing in action?
He's still missing. You know, Gary Shaw, for all I know, is still howling for him. Angulo has his visa issues. That's too bad. He's a tremendous fighter, very exciting. He was becoming a staple on HBO, and now this happened.
Right. You know, and in light of what happened to Kirkland, maybe him versus Kirkland would have been an interesting fight.
Oh, that would have been a very good fight. But in light of what happened to Kirkland, I'd definitely be picking Alfredo Angulo right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's a little bit more tighter in his skills and his defense. Kirkland still just needs to work on a lot of things before he steps up again.
Definitely. Okay, so then on Showtime on Saturday, we also have a really interesting fight. Actually, 2 interesting fights. We've got Juan Manuel Lopez versus Orlando Salido. Now, for people who aren't familiar with Orlando Salido, why don't you give us a picture of who he is? He's
a rugged fighter. Always comes to bring it. He actually beat Robert Guerrero to give him his 2nd loss, but he tested positive for a diuretic that he didn't even know he was taking, and thus it got changed to a no contest. But he always brings it. He's not the most skilled guy out there, but he knows how to fight. He's very cagey. He's an experienced veteran, and he gives everyone problems. No one looks good against him. Even Gamboa, even though Gamboa won every round except for the one he was a flash knockdown against, didn't look that good against him. So Juan Manuel Lopez, who I've heard hasn't been trained the hardest for this. There's been the last pictures I saw of him, he still looked a little chunky. And I think Salido gives him hell in this fight. I think that Lopez still should beat him. He's the younger guy. But Salido's going to give him a very tough fight. A good opponent for Lopez as he moves on to a rematch with Rafael Marquez.
Okay. And also on that card, we have Luis Cruz versus Martin Honorio.
Yeah, Honorio.
Honorio. Originally, that was supposed to be Roman Martinez.
That would have been a
versus
great
Cruz.
fight too.
But Cruz, I guess Martinez is injured.
Yeah.
So what do we think about the replacement? What do we think about this fight?
Honorio is another guy, very cagey, very tough, another skilled guy that's been around the block a long time. He beat John Molina in a big upset. He beat few other top contenders. He lost recently to another Broadway boxing staple fighter as Argenius Mendes. So he might be a little bit on the downside. Cruz should win this fight, but Honorio is a good replacement.
And now you've already said that Lopez is looking at a rematch with
Rafael Marquez.
With Rafael Marquez next. What does that leave Gamboa?
Hopefully with a fight with Chris John. I'm not really sure. Gamboa is another one. The featherweight division's kind of packed, but Bob Arum, the fight that everyone really wants to see is Lopez versus Gamboa. But Bob Arum's holding off on that right now, probably for money. And that's what he said too. He said, if you show me the money, I'll make the fight.
Right. And Chris John is in action on Sunday in Asia. He has to take care of versus Daoud Yordan.
That's what you said. That's a big fight in Indonesia.
No pushover. Right. Very, very interesting fight. And then also I want to mention that two guys who were trained by Nermo Lorick, who's been on the show in past seasons, Luis Collazo and Dmitry Salita are in action on Wednesday, April 13th, and they're going to be fighting in Brooklyn, not against each other. They have opponents, so we wish them luck. It's good to see Collazo back in the ring. The last time we saw him, he was giving Andre Berto hell.
He is. Collazo has been having a lot of managerial and promotional issues. It seems like he's got his career back on track. Good for him. He's always been a skilled guy. He brings it, and we wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, it's always good to see a local guy back in action.